An absolutely massive day in Indiana Fever history. What a insane day. Huge moves being made. NaLyssa Smith traded out of Indiana. Natasha Howard signing as a free agent. Number 8 pick going with NaLyssa as part of a larger trade for Satou Sabally, who is making her way to the Mercury, so she is not going to become a Fever. But man, we're going to talk about the Indiana Fever on this video. So make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Don't miss anything we got going on here. But man, it's probably about an hour after the NaLyssa Smith trade went down, and I've sat here and tried to gather my thoughts, looked at some stats and data info. So if you guys didn't see it, I'm gonna bring over this screen here. All right, and if you're on Twitter, you can follow me at Rich Latta 32. So the Mercury Fever and Wings got together to basically facilitate Satou Sabally getting out of there, and everyone kind of got to get a little bit of what they wanted. So Phoenix, they're gonna have Satou Sabally, Kalani Brown, and Sevgi Uzun. Dallas is going to receive Ty Harris, who never played a single game for the Mercury. NaLyssa Smith, who we're going to talk about in a minute, writes to Makia Herbert and the number 8 pick from Indiana. And Indiana gets Sophie Cunningham, who was on the Phoenix Mercury, and the number 19 pick. So it's a second-round pick to go with. Our other second-round pick traded out of the first round. It is very interesting looking at this trade. Let's start with NaLyssa Smith. NaLyssa Smith was a very divisive player amongst the Indiana Fever fan base, I would say. Since I started covering the Indiana Fever, she definitely drew kind of both sides of the fence, saying, hey, we want to get rid of her. Hey, we want to get rid of her. Hey, I think she's all right. She's got potential. She's young, blah, blah, blah. I thought that she was in a position last year where the entire offense changed around her, and it kind of did not fit with her natural game. And the times where she would have a good game was a really big deal for the Fever, and she was kind of like an X factor in my opinion. But a lot of those moments happen to be few and far in between. And of course, you can't talk about NaLyssa Smith in Indiana without mentioning Dejanay Carrington. There was a link there that a lot of fans did not like. I did not necessarily think about that or anything. I think these are pros who are able to compartmentalize their love lives and, what they bring to a roster. And looking at it in a basketball direction, what NaLyssa Smith was capable of giving the Fever, and the way Stephanie White is going with this offense feasibly, and the rest of these moves that have been made as the team starts to fall into place. I don't think the team is finished yet. The Fever are trying to construct an ultimate offensive juggernaut. They already have the Ferrari, the Lamborghini driving this offense with Caitlin Clark. Anywhere the ball needs to end up, it seems like this person needs to be able to dribble, pass, or shoot. NaLyssa Smith struggled with some of those things. She was a very bad free throw shooter. You couldn't really depend on her to stretch the floor for you. Sometimes her finishing would come and go. And defensively, we're not even going to bring that up. And it's not like there are a lot of great defenders on the Indiana Fever last year as constructed. But NaLyssa, carries a certain amount of value being a former number 2 overall pick. She gets to go to Dallas, kind of, remake her career. They have plenty of opportunity wide open. They still have not traded their number 1 pick. So, Paige Beckers, get ready. You will be playing with NaLyssa Smith, presumably, if you come out. Let's talk about Sophie Cunningham now, coming to the Fever. I was kind of confused at first when I saw Sophie Cunningham coming over, because my first thought was, where do her minutes come from? Then I started, digging a little bit into her stats, looking at, various ways that she could affect the team. And then I had to kind of think about it at a larger, from a larger perspective. I think she can potentially play 3 positions for the Fever, so that will actually help her land minutes because, we do have Lexi Hall. Her and Lexi Hall are eerily similar, I would say, just on what they offer as far as being, a glue person, can shoot threes, will defend. But when I think about the subtraction of NaLyssa Smith, the signing of Natasha Howard, and then Sophie Cunningham, the way the roster is getting remade, Aaliyah Boston and Natasha Howard will potentially be your starting front court, like the bigs. Sophie can either play the 2, the 3, or the 4, because she plays up a little bit, while offering. And last year she shot 37% from 3, which would be very valuable in this offense. And she's going to potentially be like a sneaky good ad here. She was somebody that was a big fan of Caitlin Clark and, spoke positively of her previously. Let's talk about Natasha Howard now. Natasha Howard was a player that I had thrown out as a backup potentially to not getting Satou Sabally for the Fever on this channel, going back a couple months now. And she's not in her prime or anything, but every time I watched her, I was impressed, at her demeanor, at how she could shoot. She can stretch the floor. She, was a former Defensive Player of the Year. As I said, she's not in her prime anymore, but this is a perfect player to drop into the Indiana Fever because look around. Like, Kelsey Mitchell's been in the league 7 years. Besides that, there's not a lot of veteran people on the team. I think she can come in, add a certain layer of toughness. Nobody's going to be, pushing Caitlin Clark to the floor anymore this year without any retaliation. She combined some of the best things that Temi Fagbenle added while offering enough herself to where basically it's like you minus NaLyssa and Temi Fagbenle, you're replacing them with Sophie Cunningham and Natasha Howard, and then you're going to get more flexibility offensively, defensively, and you're gaining a level of toughness there. And you're getting some people that have been in this league for a little bit that kind of knows how it all works. And we're not waiting for them to develop. They fit the win now timeline of the Indiana Fever, which is started. I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but the clock and the window has opened. With Kelsey Mitchell coming back on a 1-year deal, everyone pretty much on a 1-year deal in the league. So there's like even more potential after this season to add to this team. And still, I don't think the Fever are done this season yet. I think there's one more move to make. And if it was me, man, it's hard to say exactly what that move should be. But while I think about that, let's take a look at Sophie Cunningham's stats from last year. 8 points a game, 3 boards, 4 boards, 2 assists. So the counting stats aren't going to blow you away, but you're going to look at those percentages. That 37% from 3 is gold. If she can hit 37% and possibly, being in a better offense for her would probably even raise that. Great free throw shooter here. And she is a plus on the per 100% possessions, which is a nice value right there. I think that she will end up sneaky valuable as compared to, what's going out for NaLyssa Smith. She was, given 10 points a game, 7 boards, 48%, which for a 6'4" power forward, I think is a bit low. 29% from 3, which is very bad. And then her per 100%, and she's in the negative. But a lot of the Fever players were just because they were so bad defensively most of the year. A lot of these trades were very shocking to me just because of the amount of moves that have been made all throughout the league. And the Fever seemingly got such a late start on all these while the rest of the teams, were making moves. A lot of Indiana Fever fans were sitting around waiting like, oh, what's going on? But I think, something else to look forward to is the draft. I am wondering about this draft class. Like, what do the teams around the league know that they are all trading their picks to get out of the way, essentially? Indiana, as I mentioned, traded out of the first round. Do they think this class is either, there's no like really stars or particular help, or, does this have to do with a lot of people being rumored to want to go back to college so they don't really know who's there? There are still moves that may be made. You can package those 2 second-round picks for something. There are still questions that remain of who's actually going to be on this roster, because I think you have to still figure out Kalu Samuelson, Dantas. Are these people going to be traded? Are they going to be, packaged with a particular deal to bring more players in? So we're going to evaluate the team as it comes. I'm not really ready to commit to like a full season preview or anything. My mind's kind of wandering, seeing and visualizing how this team's going to play together. But I gotta say, I'm liking the moves. And I know a lot of people loved the team last year that the Fever had. It was an easy team to like, to fall in love with. But I think that going forward, with Natasha Howard, she used to be an Indiana Fever, back earlier in her career. There's a great story of her coming home to help win a championship, essentially. I think there will potentially be an open opportunity for Grace Berger possibly to step forward into a solid backup guard position. I hear a lot of people, say they like her. She did not get a lot of burn last year, but she is playing internationally, and you can only hope she comes in a little bit better and able to get on the court even more. And add that to the improvement of Caitlin Clark, obviously, who is a no-brainer MVP candidate next year, potentially, could challenge for the best player in the league crown between Asia Wilson and Nafisa Collier. Those are the three right there for me. I think Breanna Stewart's taking a step back personally. And I think if you think this team was exciting last year, it's setting up to be even more exciting this year. Just looking at it. I could be wrong, but I think the players that are on the way in offer more in terms of offensive versatility, which, while giving an element of defense that was completely absent last year. So anyway, my name is Rich Latta. Hope you guys like this reaction to this trade. We will be talking about some of the other moves in different videos on this channel. And hit me on the Cash App. I think it's above my head right there, Rich Latta 32. Or you can pick up some merch and all that. Get you a One Lifetime hoodie, stay warm and all that. So anyway, I'll holla at y'all. Peace.